Today we're going to talk about why your ex won't commit to you. And really what we're doing here is trying to understand sort of a mixed signals situation. So imagine a situation where you're going along after your breakup. Things seem to actually be going really, really well. Your ex is telling you that they love you, that they care about you, that they miss you, but they're not committing to you. What's going on? Well, we believe we have a new concept that we've never talked about before that can help you understand exactly why exes don't want to commit to you. So at the start of this year, I decided to do something that I hadn't done in the past 10 years of basically running one of the largest breakup websites on the internet. And that is to take some of my older articles, some of the older guides that I've put together on really the basic building blocks of getting an ex back and rewrite them and update them. So in all, if you go to our homepage on Exboyfriendrecovery.com, what you'll notice is there's a huge amount of guides, like our best guides, 16 in all. And what I've been doing very methodically, I'm about halfway done, is rewriting every single one and updating it with the new information that we have in 2021. Well, before I filmed this video, I was rewriting a guide on mixed signals that your ex will give you, and this particular topic came up. How do you understand an ex who seemingly cares about you but won't commit to you? And through trying to understand that and trying to add something new to the conversation, I came up with something called the self-fulfilling circle that can help you understand why exes are saying things like I miss you, I love you, I care for you, yet they won't ever commit to you. Now, in order to understand this self-fulfilling circle, we need to first understand the basics of attachment theory. So in all, there are four main attachment styles. Secure attachment styles, which basically means after a breakup, you're handling the breakup emotions the correct way, you're allowing yourself time to grieve, and then you're moving past your breakup. Then you have anxious attachment styles. Now, anxious attachment styles is the exact opposite of a secure attachment style. Basically, these are the people who are begging for their exes back, who are showing up their ex's doorstep, doing ridiculous things, buying gifts, just making kind of fools of themselves in general. They're often obsessed with what their ex is up to. So they're the ones that have a really hard time on social media, not checking their ex's social media updates and things like that. Then you have avoidant attachment styles. Probably the big misunderstanding I think that people have about them is that people who have avoidant attachment styles often will avoid relationships, but that's not actually true. People with avoidant attachment styles have a great paradox. They crave intimacy, but oftentimes when they get that intimacy, they feel like their independence is being threatened and they push that person away, hence avoidant attachment style. And then finally, we have fearful attachment style. Now, fearful attachment style is basically a combination of anxious and avoidant. Oftentimes, these people are misdiagnosed as having multiple personality disorder because they warped reality in this really odd way where they're really anxious one minute and then they're really avoidant the next. Now, where this comes into play is that we find that most of the people who are buying our program or coaching with one of our coaches tend to have anxious attachment styles. And it makes sense. If you think about it, people who are going to be going to YouTube or going to Google and typing in, how do I get my ex back? Or what makes my ex jealous? Those are the type of people that are going to have anxious types of behaviors. And what's interesting about anxious types of behaviors is most often they're attracting avoidant partners, which ultimately explains why this breakup occurred. But it gives us insight to our exes. So if you can understand that your ex is an avoidant, they have this great paradox where on one hand they crave intimacy, on the other hand they crave independence, which oftentimes clashes with each other, which makes you understand why they're avoiding when things kind of become more intimate. Hey there, real quick before we get you back to your video, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, well, please do that. It really does help. It helps keep our video editors paid. It helps us keep doing these high quality videos. And it's really 5 seconds out of your day to click one little button. So if you could, please just click the subscribe button. No harm, no foul if you're not interested, but we figured we'd try. All right, let's get you back to your video. So if we operate under the assumption that our exes are avoidant attachment styles by nature, where does this self-fulfilling prophecy circle come into play? Okay, so oftentimes we're trying to understand why an ex will say, I love you, I miss you, I care about you, but then just simply ghost you or not commit to you or just sort of fall off the map. And we believe that the self-fulfilling circle can help you understand some of that type of behavior. So at the top of the circle, we have our exes, and our exes are craving intimacy. So they go out and try to find someone to give them that emotional or sometimes physical intimacy. That's where you come into play. But when they get too much intimacy from their partner, they'll feel that their independence is becoming threatened and ultimately push their partner away. Of course, this makes them feel bad about themselves and they wonder why they can't ever find anyone, why this always happens to them, which of course makes them crave intimacy once more, and then they simply rinse and repeat the cycle. Now, I really came up with this concept after actually studying what exes were saying when I knew that they were definitely avoidants. And the key component to understanding this self-fulfilling prophecy is it really comes down to one singular narrative that your ex is telling themselves. Why is this always happening to me? And when we actually understand the circle and how it works, we understand why it's happening. They crave intimacy. Then they get that intimacy. But once they get that intimacy, it's too much and they feel like, well, I crave my independence. So they push that person away. And then they ultimately think, well, why does this always happen to me? Which makes them crave the intimacy once more. And then we rinse and repeat the cycle again and again and again. Sometimes with the same exact person. Sometimes with each new person being a new full revolution around the circle. Ultimately, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy where they feed this narrative of this is always happening to me. Why can't I ever find someone for myself? And they're sabotaging every single relationship because they are unaware that this is not a conscious decision. They are subconsciously just going through the motions in this self-fulfilling circle. So how do we break the circle? How do we get our exes to sort of stop churning the wheel, so to speak? Well, in order to do that, what we need to do is understand that oftentimes the precipice of the issue occurs when they receive intimacy from their partner. The important part is oftentimes if your attachment style is anxious, you are giving too much intimacy, which sounds like a really weird thing because I would argue this is one of the anxious attachment style's best traits. They give so much intimacy, both physically and emotionally, that it is very appealing to an ex, that it is very appealing to a partner, yet it's not to an avoidant. So how do we curb this? Well, ultimately what we need to do is not necessarily stop how much you're giving, but it's actually to shift your attachment style so that you're exhibiting more secure types of behaviors. Oftentimes, if we're going to psychoanalyze someone with an anxious attachment theory, they often will feel that if they're not giving emotional intimacy to their partner, that they will lose this partner. Whereas a secure person has a really good handle on how much intimacy is normal for specific situations. In other words, anxious people tend to overcorrect. They tend to do too much with their intimacy. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, there is no quick fix. Oftentimes, by looking inwards towards your own attachment style, you can have a marked improvement on your ex's attachment style. We have often called this concept secure attachment gravity. Oftentimes we're noticing that if people have a secure attachment style, all of the other attachment styles begin to mimic the secure attachment style. So by improving yourself, you can actually improve your ex's attachment style, but it's not always so black and white. Sometimes you can do everything right and still fail, but that's more on your ex than on you. Hey, if you're interested in learning more about how this all works or looking for a proper starting point for your situation and what you should be doing going forward, my best piece of advice to you is to actually hop over to our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple, free 2-minute quiz designed to basically tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click the link you see there if you're interested in taking the quiz. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, but most importantly, subscribed to our YouTube channel, please help us out and click that subscribe button below. Also, if you like having notifications anytime we put out a new video, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you can get notified whenever we come out with something new. I'll see you next time.